It is great. I mean, they need, but Darby and Goldman, those guys are all doing good in Chicago and Buffalo, and we got so many guys everywhere. But it is neat. I mean, you can keep up with them a little more. You hear about them a little more. Fans can come see them. I think it's good for both organizations, not just because they're local kids, but they're local guys and they're good players, and they're used to winning and they know how to win. They know how to work to win, and I think that makes it very good. It makes it neat for me because I do get to hear about them a lot.
What's the next step that Dalvin can take?
Who, Dalvin?
Dalvin.
I think there's always polishing your game. I mean, whether it's even become a little better pass blocker, and he catches the ball at the backfield, but really define your routes and really be a weapon there if people start taking the run away. Find different ways you can get the ball, flex out of the backfield, maybe run routes like a receiver, which he can do. Even pressure your blocks, understanding the schemes, not only your schemes, but now understanding defenses even more to know where your cuts are going to be or how that run should develop out, you know what I mean, and pressing your blocks another step or open field run. I mean, there's a lot of little things in that regard. And, you never quit getting better, you know what I'm saying? And I think he'll do that because he's a workaholic.
Do you think there's going to be a time where a guy like Dalvin, who's played obviously 2 very strong college years, is going to look and say, you know what, I don't need my 3rd year of college, even though I can't go pro yet, just take it off and get
No, I don't. Football's not a game you can do that in. I think football is a game. I don't think any of those games are. I think if you do, you'll regress, and I think you'll shorten your career the other way. I don't, and I think it's bad. And if we start going down that road, it's bad. So you know what coach will do? Quit playing you. Don't play as a freshman. If you get down that road, which would be a travesty. But we wouldn't do that. But I mean, if you start thinking that way, you'll never progress and be what you can be.
Coach, you walk into the stadium already and it looks totally different. What is that atmosphere going to change? Like, how is it going to change for next year?
I don't think it will. I think it's going to be the same dynamic atmosphere that chop will get going. And we play them well and get it rolling.
I'm just talking like with the upgrades to it. I mean, do you think it adds anything? Is what I guess.
I think it does. I mean, for the fans.
Right.
I don't mean this as a player. We don't see anything. What we look at's right between them white lines. Those 2 goalposts and that field hadn't moved. It's going to be the same. It's going to be the same thing. But it is great that the fans get that experience and what they're going to have, and it's going to be great for them. And I think that's critical today. I think enhancing the fan experience is very important with how TV is today. I think it's great for them to continue to go to the games and to the stadiums and to the ballparks because of how well TV coverage is ran today. I think it's very important for places to enhance that atmosphere. And there's nothing like being in a game. I don't care. I mean, you can sit back and watch, but and to be able to bring your kids and experience that whole thing, I think it's great for fans. I mean, I think the true fans are always going to come, but I think with the world of TV today, I think it's very important that stadiums and people keep continuing to do those kind of things to enhance the experience of the fans.
Have you guys figured out or finalized your satellite cam plan yet?
No, not yet.
So working on it.
How much preparation goes into we know there's endless amounts, but before a game, the night before, do you get any sleep? Or?
Oh, we do. But there's a routine. There's a thing, but people don't. I mean, you're 14, 16, 18-hour days. I mean, all during the season. That's just part of it. And then there's a certain routine that we go through, and I think there's a true mental process 48 hours before a game that's very critical.
Is this all year round? Do you get any break at all?
No, you get some. You don't get what you used to because recruiting has changed it. You don't get the down times anymore. You don't get, and then people joke about, well, satellite camps take away from families, and I hear them, it does. Because there is, it used to be after recruiting that month before spring ball, you worked on ball, but it wasn't, now it's, you're in junior days, there's people continually coming to your university on unofficial visits, then you're right into spring ball and you're doing the same things with kids coming in and recruiting. Then afterwards, you're back on the road again for 5 to 6 weeks, whether you're speaking, blah, blah, blah. There's, a 3 or 4 week window at the end of June, 1st of July, but then you're in and out because you're trying to make sure your kids are doing the right things. They're in summer school, they're still because they get so much free time in the summers, kids, that's where you're trying to stay on top of them there too. So the time for coaches and families and things is less than it's ever been by far. By far.
You're saying how critical it was for players to step aside from the game.
It is. It is. It is. And it's hard to find that time because of the scrutiny that's put on athletes today. I was saying that today. An athlete, it's funny, we'll take a Hollywood star, a politician, people who run our countries that do everything, that make mistakes, make critical mistakes, do dumb things, have major things, and we'll go back and watch a movie. They keep making movies. They keep getting reelected. An athlete, as soon as he does one thing, And even if whether it's good or bad, sometimes even if it's put out there, taken away, if something, whereas an 18 to 20-year-old kid, we want to throw them away. We want to tarnish them. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it is a very tough world. So I mean, trying to find time away and not be with your kids and trying to make sure they're doing the right things all the time. And people say, well, why are kids so bad at it? They're not. You just know about it now. I actually think they're better. There's nothing wrong with them. I think parents are worse than they've ever been. Because I think we've got more single-parent homes and all those types of things. But I also think that there's more knowledge of everything. Every move they make is scrutinized in such detail now that it's crazy. I mean, the pressure put upon these kids. I mean, think about what you saw Lowry do the other day. What did you see Lowry do in a basketball game the other day? A grown man have to leave the game because of why? The pressure of playing. Then he had to walk away, go back to the locker room, compose himself, come back, and they played great last week. But I don't think the scrutiny we put these kids under at 18 to 22 right now. They come in with all the hype from the recruiting services and the papers, and more so than ever. And all of a sudden they're 19 and they ain't playing. They're a sophomore. They're not an All-American. They're not going to be a first-round draft pick. Well, we're criticized. We're on the message boards. And I mean, those kids know everything is being said. So I mean, that scrutiny and that time to get away, you got to be there for the kids. And I think your support system's in place, the coaches being there for those kids 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, all that is very critical in their development because they have to have that comfort zone and security blanket of knowledge to be able to help them as much as we can. I know I got on a soap opera, but that's a fact. Now we're in a different world today, and football more so than any sport.
And speaking to that, without names, there was a lineman who got in a little bit of trouble this week. How do you deal with that as a head coach if you get a call like that and some things happen? What goes
first and foremost? You got to wait and see what the facts are.
Right.
Don't jump to conclusions. Find out what actually happened because people today want you to rush to judgment, but how do you rush to judgment before you know facts?
Sure.
Look at the circumstances and things, and then you got to deal with them accordingly of how they affect. Now, first of all, the university, what the standards of that is, and how it affects that, how it affects their personal name, and what it does to your football team or athletic event or whatever it is. You got to act. Is it something that you can? However you punish, every punishment is different. And people say, well, why do we have a court? Court systems do that. They even punish the same crime differently. And by who did it, how they did it, the circumstances that happened, I think that's where we got to remember that those things happen in the world today. And I think the first and foremost thing is gather all the facts before you jump to conclusion. And crucify somebody on things that aren't true. They're all allegation. And then if they're true, then act accordingly on the facts.
This is a little out of left field, Jimbo, but the Ivy League this year voted to go no full contact practices. Could something like that work in D1?
I mean, what you got to define is what full contact is. And look at the NFL. Are NFL injuries up or down? They're up.
Yeah.
Why? Body's not conditioned to take the punishment. You got to be careful. You can cut it back and save in practices, but when it does come, their injuries are up more than ever because they haven't trained to do it. It's like asking a pitcher not to throw bullpens and throw all week and go throw on the weekend and still be the same. I mean, you can't beat them to death and do all those things. There's a fine line. But then you got to define, there's got to be some contact. There'll be modifications, but I don't think that's totally the answer.
Some of those early kickoff times came out this week, and you had that home opener at 11:30. Is that going to be a challenge after playing?
I think it's a very big challenge. I don't like that. I mean, because you're coming off a Monday night game to a 12:30 game. I think it's ridiculous in college to ask kids to play on a Monday, Saturday, or a Saturday, Thursday. If they're really truly worried about the kid. I think those games are ridiculous. That's just my opinion on it. I think it's unfair to them. It's not what's good for the body and everything else. But then I think having to come back after that and then turn around and go into we got 3 games in 12 days. And you got a very quick, so it will change how we practice and prepare. It will change how we prepare going into the first game. How much we get work on the second game and how much, we'll have to change. I'll have to look at that whole procedure and then how an early game do an early game the next week. That all will be factored in. That's something I take very seriously, and I think the adjustments of the body and having the body right is very critical in that.
How much do you take away from this year? You guys had some very early start times.
Yeah, but we'll define those by what we had before. A lot of it has to do with what you have before and how much practice you can get in during the week and what your recovery times are and goes into that, which goes up to 48 hours after that, which is very critical after a game.
Read somewhere this week that you guys over the last 3 seasons are the only team in major college football undefeated at home. How big is that to hold serve at home?
That's great. I mean, you got to have 13, 14, 15 we are. Yeah, I mean, it's very critical. 'Cause, I mean, first of all, you got to establish your home turf. And knowing it coming in there is very tough. And You know, and people say, well, that's your home field, but and I think the thing you got to remind is just because you play at home though doesn't mean you win. The players got to make a difference at home. You know what I'm saying? And I think you should. I mean, I think anytime you walk in something that's sacred like Doe Campbell and the history and tradition that's been there, you got to play your tail off for it. We've been able to do that. But it is having a home field advantage is critical, and I think our fans are a huge part of that. A huge part of that.